All right, let's just jump right in. You've seen the movies, right? The lone hero, stranded against all odds, pulls off some amazing survival trick. Well, what if I told you those clever tricks are actually a fast track to, well, not surviving? Today, we're tearing apart the most popular survival myths that will get you killed. Seriously. And that is the real danger. It's not just that the advice is wrong, it's the fake confidence it gives you. You think you're being smart, you think you're a survivor, all while you're actually doing the absolute worst thing possible at the worst possible time.
So, first up, let's talk about the mistakes that happen inside your own body. These are the myths that trick your own biology into working against you right when you need it the most.
Okay, this one is huge. The classic advice is to ration your water, right? Make it last. But that is terrible advice. Why? Because a dehydrated brain doesn't work. Your judgment, the single most important tool you have, just shuts down. You need that water now so you can think straight enough to find more water. I mean, dying of thirst with a half-full canteen in your hand has to be the ultimate irony.
And speaking of making bad choices with water, let's get to the infamous one, look. Your pee is not some secret hydration hack. It is literally liquid waste. When you drink it, your poor kidneys, which are already working overtime, have to filter all those same nasty toxins all over again. And get this, that process uses up more water from your body than you actually get back from the urine. It's a vicious cycle. You are actively making yourself die of thirst faster.
So you're cold, you're thirsty, but hey, you're surrounded by snow. Problem solved, right? Nope, not at all. Your body has to burn a ton of energy, precious calories and body heat, just to melt that snow in your mouth. You're trading a massive amount of warmth, which you desperately need, for a tiny, tiny amount of water. You are fast-tracking hypothermia, making yourself colder and weaker for almost no payoff. And if things get so bad that you get frostbite, whatever you do not do this. The advice to rub it to warm it up is a catastrophe on a microscopic level. See, frostbite creates tiny ice crystals inside your cells. When you rub that area, you're literally shattering those crystals. It's like grinding glass into your own tissues, causing permanent, irreversible damage to something that might have been saved with gentle rewarming. Okay, so we've talked about how not to sabotage your own body. Now let's talk about how the environment itself can trick you. These next few myths are all about misreading the signs and following nature's own little breadcrumb trails right into a trap. You've heard this one, follow the river downstream to civilization. Sounds logical, but what do rivers do? They carve through landscapes. They create canyons, cliffs, gorges, and yep, massive waterfalls. The farther you follow that supposedly easy path, the more likely you are to walk straight into a trap you can't get out of. The river has no idea where the nearest town is, and frankly, it doesn't care. And please, for the love of all that is holy, do not use this as a compass. The whole moss only grows on the north side of a tree thing, it's just flat out wrong. Moss grows wherever it's damp and shady. In a forest, that could be, well, on all sides of the tree. Trying to navigate with this myth is basically a coin toss for which direction you're going to get even more lost in.
So you find a cave. Great. Shelter. You build a fire inside. Perfect. Warmth. But what you've actually just done is build yourself a gas chamber. Seriously, without good airflow, that fire eats up all the oxygen and starts pumping out carbon monoxide. It has no smell, no color. You don't choke. You just get a little sleepy, and then you never wake up. Here's a hard truth. You cannot outrun a wildfire. It is a race you will lose 100% of the time. Just look at these speeds. A wildfire moves way faster than you can sprint, and it gets even faster going uphill, exactly where you'd be trying to run. You'll just collapse from exhaustion, and the smoke will get you long before the fire does. All right, this brings us to our last section, and this is where things get really intense. These myths are about those split-second decisions when nature isn't just background scenery, it's actively trying to end you. That heroic snakebite scene from the movies? Pure fiction. By the time you even react, that venom is already deep in your bloodstream. You can't suck it out. All you're going to do is make the wound worse, give yourself a nasty infection from the bacteria in your mouth, and maybe even help the venom spread faster. The real move? Stay calm, keep that limb as still as possible, and get medical help. This one right here is a perfect example of how one-size-fits-all advice can be a death sentence. Everyone's heard it. If a bear attacks, play dead. Well, that might work for a grizzly bear that's just trying to neutralize a threat, but a predatory black bear, if it's attacking, it thinks you're food.
And if you play dead for it, well, you just turned yourself into the easiest meal it's ever going to find. You have to know the difference.
Ah, yes, the classic. Punch a shark on the nose. Sounds heroic, right? Well, think about it. To punch a shark's nose, where does your arm have to go? Straight into the kill zone, right in front of its mouth. A shark's jaw can snap shut way, way faster than you can throw a punch. It's a terrible idea. If you're really in that nightmare scenario, go for the eyes or the gills. Anything but putting your hand right in the blender.
Okay, this next one goes against every instinct you have, but it is so important. If you get impaled on something, a tree branch, a piece of metal, whatever, your first impulse is to pull it out. Don't. You cannot pull it out. That object is acting as a plug in the wound. It's putting pressure on damaged blood vessels. It might just be the only thing keeping you from bleeding out right there. Because if you do give in to that impulse and pull it out, this is what happens. If that object was plugging a major artery, like the one in your thigh, you could lose up to 1.5 liters of blood every single minute. You would be gone in moments. So what do? You leave it in. Period. So after all these ways to die while thinking you're saving yourself, what's the real secret to survival? It's not about being some action hero. It's actually a lot simpler than that. See, the #1 survival skill isn't a skill at all. It's a mindset. It's about thinking before you act. It's about keeping a cool head and not doing something stupid that makes a bad situation a million times worse. Nature doesn't care how brave you are. It rewards smart, calm decisions based on what's real, not what you saw in a movie. So I'm going to leave you with this one question to think about. When it all hits the fan, when you're scared, hurt, and alone, what are you going to trust? The heroic feeling myth that makes for a good story? Or the quiet, boring truth that will actually keep you alive? Think about it.